The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to another KevCAM night class tonight. Tonight, have Greg Payton making sure cover all the points with you guys and help out with questions. Greg, you with us?
Good evening, everybody.
And I do see a couple new names in here, so we'll go through the housekeeping of GoToMeeting. Everybody is in mute just to eliminate any background noise. But if you guys do have questions, definitely ask those. There is a questions panel there that you can ask, and Greg will stop me in my tracks and get your questions asked right away. All these classes are recorded, and if you go to SolidCAM University on YouTube, all the classes in here are in here, as well as short videos, some live cuts, or you guys can go over to where you go to register and click on the Miss class right there. So we'll stop with the boring stuff and let's dive into some translated surfaces. Now, with translated surfaces, this is kind of something that's, I would say, legacy product of SolidCAM. It's been in the software forever. And this translated surfaces came out before we had any 3D milling or HSS techniques. So we may be going through this and be like, well, why won't you use HSS? Yes, I would 100% agree with you, but we just want to show it to you just in case you guys do run across this. So what translated surface will do for you is it takes a fully 2D tool path and actually will turn it into a 3D path for you. So first thing what I want to do here is I want to kind of get my part prepped. Now, right now we are working on a fully 3D part. This also works very well with just a 2D sketch. So if you guys don't want to take the time and create a 3D model out of it, you can also do this with a simple 2D sketch. And I'll kind of show you that right here. So what I'm going to do is I need to get my curve on my Z-plane. And so what we're going to be doing here is basically do like a loft inside SolidWorks. So I'll just right click and we'll just do a sketch real quick. And I'm going to do a convert entities. And now we have our sketch there. And I'm just going to do a Control C to copy that. And then what I want to do is I want that sketch on my Z-plane. So I'll just go ahead and create a sketch now on my Z-plane, and I will paste that sketch on there. So now you can see that I've taken the sketch from our plane, our Y-plane over here, and copied it and put it up here. But right now we're kind of floating around, so I'm going to go ahead and constrain this. And now you can see that I have my my shape or my my loft that I want to use to go along here. So let's go ahead and do our translated surface. And first, it's asking me basically a guide curve. So what curve do I want it to follow? So I will tell it that I would like to follow this curve right here. Like I said, this works very well just on a 2D setting as well. And then the section geometry, what geometry do I want it to use? So for that, grab our, here, let me hop back out of here real quick. So first thing you want to do is grab your point, is basically your reference point. So I'm going to tell it, this is my reference point right here, because my guide curve is this line right here. And then I'm going to use this line as my basically my profile. So now I can come over here, click add chain, grab that profile. And now I have my reference point as well as my chain. Go ahead and hit a green check mark on there. Now we can change our section geometry to if I want to start at that spot or do I want to end at that spot. Tool side left or right, as well as doing a surface offset. Now, like your surface offset is for those of you guys that have watched a couple years ago when we did the HSS videos, is basically the same thing. So we'll actually offset this U-shape curve that we've done here. Tool. I'll go ahead and grab a tool here. And grab our ball end mill. Levels. All we're worried about is the upper level. And since there is no lower level here, because what it's doing is it's taking that curve and projecting it down for us. So now, how do we want to approach that cut? We can do a zigzag or one way. We can actually set up a constraint boundary. So by doing our constraint boundary, you can do more control over the tool movement at the start and end of the profiles / section. We can use limits. So if we had a boss in the center of our area right here, we can actually chain that and we can set up a limit to go around there. As well as doing a roughing pass and a finishing pass. And then here is what our finish is going to end up as for our finish quality. Now, when you guys are using this, this is, it's not a constant Z toolpath and it's not a linear, it's more of a parallel to a curve toolpath. So let's just go ahead and do a save and calculate here. And you can see that that ball end mill is coming through and following that geometry all the way around. And our step over or our scallop is going to maintain constant all the way through that entire cut. So if we wanted a super nice finish, we can make that scallop as 1 thou, and we'll get more toolpath lines in there. So let's just bump this back out to 5 here. And obviously, when we come in here, that's going to be a pretty heavy cut on that ball end mill, so we can have the opportunity to rough it out. And we don't have to use any, 3D machining or HSR or HSS to do this. We can do it all within your 2D functionality right here. So we can do a step down of, let's just do 15 thou. And how much of an overlap are we looking for? So right now it's set up to 0.5. Let's just do 0.2. And we're going to get a whole bunch of toolpath in there. But now, if I get a side view, I get a good side view for you guys, but since we're on a curve, it's not going to show it. You can see the multiple roughing strategies that are going into there, as well as the finishing strategy right here. Let's take a peek and see what that looks like when we do a solid verify. And I'll slow this down. So it's taking that nice light cut and working its way down. Now, once it comes up to that wall where we told it to stay 5 thou away, it's going to start its next pass over. And we can speed this up a little bit here. Now, I can already tell this looks pretty rough in here. If I need to come in there and change that so we don't have a little bit better of a roughing strategy to come in there, I can come in here and change my overlap to something larger. So if I did a 0.8, go ahead and play this through here. Now you can see my step over is much smaller now, which would leave our scallop height much easier to come back with a finishing tool path or to finish it off with this cutter right here. And it's like watching paint dry, isn't it?
You can speed up your simulation settings.
Oh, that
Turn
would
on
be
turbo
helpful.
mode.
So now we can see that our roughing strategy over here on the right side is it's going to be a lot easier on that finishing path when we come back to finish it. So I'm just going to pause it right there. I'll just make this number back to what we had it before. And our scallop, we could set to maybe 1,000 to get that real nice finish. Save and calculate, or actually, let's just turn off the rough so we can see the path, and we'll get a nice, beautiful finish working our way all the way throughout that part. And like I said, the nice thing with this translated surfaces, you do not need a 3D part at all. So it's all based off of 2D sketch lines that's in there. And you can see we have a real nice finish in there going through the entire cut. Now, if you would like my recommendation, and I would assume Greg's recommendation on this, if you guys are going to be doing this, since everybody has HSS limited, definitely use your HSS because it's going to be a little bit easier to use. But if you are, like I said, just going off a 2D sketch or come across that certain scenario where you remember that we're talking about translated surfaces, this is another strategy that you can have in your toolbox. So any questions on just doing a simple U shape over here? Nothing?
No questions so far.
Okay. So now let's go ahead and do that same thing for this particular one over here. So I had to do a little bit prep work here. So I'm just going to do a quick sketch, and I'll do a convert entities. That line, that line, that line. Highlight all these. Do copy. Exit sketch, and just do another sketch up here. Paste that up here. And we will do a move. Entities to move is that one, that one, that one. Come on, move over. Let's do add relationship from here to here. Coincident. All right. So now we have our sketch that we're looking for. And just want to make sure we're good. So now we can go ahead and do our translated surface again. And basically our guide curve is going to be that line. And my section geometry. So I'll start with my reference point being right there. And now I can go ahead and chain okay. And we'll go ahead and accept that. Now we'll go ahead and grab our tool. And for this particular one, we'll just use a flat end mill because we do have a flat edges on there. Levels, don't have to worry about. Technology, let's go ahead and just do a save and calculate. So right here, I can see that I'm actually on the wrong side. So I can go to my geometry and switch this from left to right. And now we can see our geometry is in there quite well. So if we wanted to do a roughing strategy like what we did before, we can turn that on and we can see and get a good view for you guys. Sorry guys, that yellow is horrible to use. Let me change that color real quick. Go orange. Well, we already got orange. We'll do green.
While you're changing colors, it looks like SolidWorks has come through with a public service announcement about Service Pack 5.
Yeah. All right. So now you get a good view here for you. So now we're roughing it out. Like I said, if that's too much to take, this one's a little tricky, but this is your overlap. So the higher the number here, the more cuts that we're going to have in there. So if we did this as an overlap of 0.7, we should see more cuts going through there. So you guys do have that option as well as stepping down. So if we want to do a smaller step down, if we're running some really hard material, we can do that as well right there. I just do 0.1, save and calculate. Now in the odd case that we do have, you know, something extruding out from here, and like I said, you don't need a 3D model at all. So that's where we'd come to our use limits, come in here and just chain a 2D sketch to go around that limit for you. So you guys do have that option right there. So let's just take a peek and see what we got here. Oops, did the machine sim. All right, go ahead and play this through. Doing the roughing strategy. And now with our finish, we can see that we were able to get that cut exactly what we're looking for. So, you know, I want to be 100% honest with you guys. I've been using SolidCAM since 2006. I never used this, but I thought you guys should know about it. So if you guys do run across a particular time to use it, there is the option there. Like I said, unless Greg says otherwise, I would definitely recommend you guys using HSS for something like this. That way you're not having to create sketches, you're not having to put it on the Z plane, you know, do all the reference points and all that, but that option is there for you.
Yeah, I think the only time that I think this would really be beneficial, and I could be wrong here because I'm in your camp, Kevin, where I think I'd much prefer using the HSS module over the translated surface. But being able to engrave on a translated surface would probably be where I would look to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have the 2D geometry and then actually put the lettering on a projected surface like that.
Yeah, and that would get you guys around. You know, on a particular case like that, we would use HSS projection. But you know, if you guys are just dealing with the express of HSS where you have linear and constant Z, that would be another good application to use that as well. All right, should we watch it play through in Machine Sim? As soon as I can find my simulate, there it is. Right. Kind of get everything zoomed in for you guys here. And with the machine sim, if you guys don't like the 2-screen view or the 3-screen view, you guys can fully customize on how many you have in here. I just like having the left side view over here, right side view over here, and then I can see the entire machine over here. Let's go ahead and slow this down. So first, we are probing up our part. And let's go ahead and speed up this guy. Oops. And just like that, we have a finished part. So any questions from anyone on the translated surface? Like I said, it's not something that you're gonna use very often, but definitely you do have that additional tool in your toolbox if you do run across something.
I've got one for you. Is there any limitations to what kind of tool you can use with translated surface? Like, does it have to be a end mill with a corner radius, or can you use a flat bottom end mill?
Let's show everyone. So the tool options that you guys are allowed to use are going to be straight end mill, bull nose, a ball end mill, face mill, taper ball mill, and a lollipop cutter. So you're not constrained by using just specific tools as a ball end mill or a square end mill. So like even on this particular one over here, we could hop in there with a high feed face mill and get that material removed out of there quite quickly. So great question.
So for anybody that's doing any kind of like 3D roughing like this, and they didn't have some of our more advanced features, this might be a good tool path for getting a net near zero finish for a finishing tool path, but with the roughing style tool.
Absolutely. Well, you can jump right over to, yeah, like I said, come back with a finisher and be set. And the roughing strategies are work quite well in here. I was actually quite surprised when I started digging into this last week on how well the strategies are in here for you. So, like I said, you get a lot of control just by turning on this rough right here. And then, you know, when we turn on our rough, I've kind of breezed over this. So when we turn on a rough, it's kind of like doing a profile operation. So we're doing these roughing strategies, leaving 5 thou on the wall to come back and for that finish operation to clean up that 5 thou that was left over. So, and kind of to Greg's point is if we want to use 2 different tools, we can definitely do that. Let's do that with, yes, let's do it with this one right here. Maybe you want to come in there and with a completely different tool, so we can rough it out with one tool, come in here, make a copy, switch our tool over to a different tool, turn off our rough, turn on our finish, and have a finishing path right there with a completely different tool as well. So, like I said, guys, I apologize. It's nothing too exciting, but the option is there for you. But I don't see any questions coming through for anybody, so hopefully it was got something out of it. Like I said, nothing too exciting, but you guys do have that option there. Now, going forward, next week, both Greg and I will be out of town doing on-site training, but the week after, we don't have anything in the books yet, but for everybody that is in the class, if I can get a yes or no, next class, would you guys like to start diving into the what's new with 2020? go through that series and then go back to our regular?
That is a resounding yes from the comments panel.
Okay. Well, that's what we will. Holy cow! I didn't see all the questions in here. Ronnie's lighting up our questions. So yeah, that will be the plan going forward. So, like I said, not next week, just because Greg and I are out of town. Greg is in Wyoming and I am in southern Minnesota. But we will start covering the what's new for 2020 for you guys, and so you guys can really get working with 2020 and get really familiar with that. So
it's going to be a special St. Patrick's Day KevCAM night class.
And we'll all be drinking green beer. No. But well, guys, just want to thank you for joining the night class tonight, and hopefully everybody got something interesting out of it. Like I said, it's nothing mind-blowing at all, but just wanted to show you the option there, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.